Welcome to the Not Superheroes Just Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant buildings. But what we can do is help set the foundations for our families, be present for our kids, and combat generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I am Sean Laurie. I hope you guys are doing amazing. Right, Father's Day just passed, so I hope you guys was able to really enjoy yourself, relax, have a good time. For me, I actually had a amazing Father's Day. Um, I'm one of those people that don't expect anything, but appreciate everything. Right? That's something that I really go by when it comes to my family because, as you guys know, as fathers, we're just doing what we need to do. Right? We're doing what we need to do, and honestly, we're not looking for anything. We're just happy at the end of the day that our kids have food in their stomach, clothes on their back, right, and we're able to provide and protect and keep them safe, right? I know at least for me, that's something where I'm just thankful for that. The fact that I'm able to do that to me is a blessing and an honor in itself. And the fact that I'm able to be a father because I know, some people didn't get the opportunity or whatever the case is, right? So with that being said, I actually wanted to talk to you guys about something very interesting, I guess, or something that came to mind, right? As again, I hope you guys had a good Father's Day. Shout out to grandparents, the ones that stepping up, uncles, whatever it is you're playing that father figure. Shout out to you. But I was thinking of for us that didn't have fathers, or us that have the part time fathers, or the fathers maybe are trying to enter in our lives now, right? As we're older, as we're adults, and I wanted to, I guess, encourage and just talk about, maybe hearing our fathers out, right? And so I'll share this, for example. Excuse me. Um, Man, I've been in Texas, man. It's been like allergy season, so it's been jacking me up. So excuse me a little bit, man. Where it's been messing with my throat and making it raspy and all that jazz. But anyways, no, it made me want to talk to you guys about, like, so with my father, for example, I'll share this with you guys, right? I call it like a part-time father, right? And so when I was younger, I definitely was hurt, upset because I didn't see my father like I wanted to. He wasn't coming to the games, right? And I had a lot of bitterness. I had a lot of anger towards him, right? Um, and fast forward now, we have a better relationship, right? And even he's old school, so even certain things he might not want to talk about. You know how that is, where they, especially the fathers back then, right? It's like, hey, what I say is what I say, and that's it. But we didn't have that type of relationship, so that's where we kind of bumped heads. But we're in a better space now, right? We're in a better space because of that, and we do talk often through text messages and things like that, which is a beautiful thing. Um, but it made me think, right, where I had to really, as I got older, reflect and think about some of the things he went through, right? So understand that there's always two sides of the story, right? There's always two sides of the story. So obviously, when we're growing up and, our mothers are raising us, right, we're just hearing their side of the story. We don't necessarily know everything that's taking place, right? And since we don't know everything that's taking place, it's one of those things that we're just going to kind of fill the gaps, or we're going to have them fill the gaps for us, right? Our mothers, or even the people around us. So that's something where I had to understand, like, hey, you know what? Let me try to understand his point of view, or his side. And understand too, as a father, it's difficult. As a man, it's difficult, right? We deal with different struggles, right? And so it had me thinking, as fathers, like, what are some of the things that maybe, it's like, man, okay, my dad's not around because of my mom told me he's just not around. But are we thinking about all the different elements, right? Are we thinking that, okay, my mom might have stopped, uh, preventing him from being able to see me, right? Where, hey, they got mad. I mean, again, as we got older, we've seen this, right? Either from our own experience or from friends or families that we've seen, right? Where it's like, hey, the woman that they had a child with got upset, and now all of a sudden now they're making it very difficult to see the child, right? Um, or it's one of those things. I've seen it too, where it's like, um, literally, they just fled the country, fled the state, which is crazy in itself, right? That's crazy in itself. Like, hey, you know what? I just wanted to have a kid. with you, but honestly, I want nothing to do with you. And they're out, like, which is terrible. That happens too, though, right? And then there's times where, maybe they're upset because you moved on, right? You moved on, and they're like, hey, I still want to be with you. So to hurt you, they want to use the child. Now, that's not right. I'm not saying that's right at all for the mother to do that, but these are different things we don't think about, right? We just kind of take on whatever was told to us, and being upset at our dads and not really giving them a chance or hear them out. Shoot, there's times where they might not even know that they were dead. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I moved, or I had this situation come up, or at the time I was dating someone and they didn't want to tell me because they didn't want to mess up what I had going on. Right? It's all these different things that we don't really think about or account. We just more so say, my dad was around, he sucks, he didn't care about me, and that's it. And don't get me wrong, there is those fathers that isn't trying to step up, isn't trying to be part of our lives like that, right? But for those that are trying to be a part of our lives, I really think we should give them a chance, give them an opportunity, and be able to hear what they're saying, right? It's not easy, as you guys know. As a father, as a man, it's not easy. Things happen, right? Things happen. And as a kid, we don't understand these things, right? We don't understand these things. So we'll carry that on like, man, you know what? Bump this. They don't care about me. They don't love me. When that's not always the case. So I just really wanted to just make sure that I spoke on us being open to have those conversations, right? Us being open to talk about, or to even reach out, I'm sorry, to our fathers, and to be able to say, hey, what happened here? Like, why didn't you and mom work out? Why wasn't you here? Right? But giving them a real opportunity, giving them a real chance to hear from them, and not shutting them down. Because let's think about it, right? As parents, as fathers, with our kids, we're programming our kids, right? We're programming our kids to think a certain way, to act a certain way, right? If you really think about it, hey, you know what? Make sure you say yes, ma'am, no, sir, right? Make sure that open the door for a young lady, right? All these different things that we give them, that we're like, hey, this is the standard. This is how you should operate. This is how you should look at different things, right? So look at it in the same way, though, as far as a negative thing. Hey, you know what? Your dad didn't care about you. Hey, you know what? Um, you're a liar, right? And your dad was too. Do you want to be a liar, right? I remember hearing those things. I love my mom, but I remember those things where there was times where she would say little jabs. You know what I mean? And it made me like, oh dang, I don't want to be like that. Like she would, and again, she was young too, right? She was young when she had me. So, but whatever her and my dad went through, right? At times she didn't realize it, but she was projecting some of those things onto me, right? And so I'm looking at him in a negative light when I shouldn't have. And I tell people this all the time. Even single fathers. A lot of single fathers I know actually do a great job doing this. They do a great job not speaking ill on the mother, regardless of the situation, right? There is some that still do, but they do a good job of not speaking ill, and it's more so, I'm gonna let my child see how she operates, right? And then they can judge from them, or for themselves. And that's how I kind of look at it. Like, let them judge for themselves. There's no reason to evolve the kid, or try to make them think a certain thing, or create a certain narrative. Let them see for themselves, right? And then they can make their own judgment. Like, yeah, every time I call my dad, he's never picking up, or he's always busy, or he always seems to be out of town, but yet I see he's doing this, right? Or I see him focus on the other family he has, right? Like, let the child be able to kind of figure out, okay, this my father is not for me, or he is for me, right? And not letting outside narratives create things. And so I say that because, again, for us that didn't have and we might not even know, some of us might not even know where our fathers are. So obviously there's nothing you could do about that. But if you do know, right, like, maybe reach out to him. Now, if he's just a, a idiot, he's not really about nothing, he's not really trying to do anything, I get that, right? That's I completely understand that. But if it is something where you just shut him down because of a certain narrative that was painted, that might not be true. There's always two sides of the story. Always two sides of the story, right? And so I've spoken to my dad, right? And he's told me certain things that I didn't know, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't think about it like that, right? And it made me look at both sides differently, right? Where I only had one point of view. But as I got older, I realized like, oh, okay, that wasn't always the truth that what she was saying, right? And so I just really want to really just I guess encourage you guys with that, just because at the end of the day, man, I just look at it as me as a father, right? I'm gonna do whatever I can for my kids, right? So Lord forbid something happened with me and the missus, right? I'm gonna make sure though I'm in my kid's life as much as possible, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure I could do that, right? So, but that's my mindset, right? That's my mindset. There's especially back then, especially back in our parents, even so, right? Where it's like, you know, they're doing too much. Like I'm out of here, or even now, like man, they're doing too much. It's a headache. At the end of the day, all right, man, you got it. Like that's what you want to do. You know, you making me go through all these loops. You keep moving right from city to city, you keep changing your address, you keep changing your numbers, you keep doing all these things to make it so it's difficult for me not to be in my child's life, right? So man, I did what I can, whatever, it is what it is. That's not a good approach to have, but I look at it like I can understand the frustration, right? I can understand the frustration because at the end of the day, you're like, I'm trying to do what's right, and you're so hurt or upset at me that you're going to penalize our kids, right? Which I feel like you should never do, but unfortunately, that's what people do. Right? That's what people do when they're hurting, and there's something inside that's deeper going on with them, right? And so I just really want to focus on that on this past Father's Day, right? Just had me thinking of the fathers out there that do want to be part of their kids' lives, um, and can't be, right? And so and as far as us, right? There's certain maybe situations that we're dealing with right now as fathers. There's some of us that's dealing with that where we're trying to fight for custody or we're trying to fight to see our kid right now. And so just think about it from another perspective too. Like maybe with your dad, like you like, dang, you know, I'm going through all these hula hoops, right, to see my child, and I never thought about, dang, maybe that's why my dad wasn't around like that, right? Dang, maybe that's why, um, I could never call him, or maybe he was trying to call me and he kept being shut down, right? Because that happens too. I know a lot of good fathers that will call to try to speak to their kids, and the mother won't answer, right? The mother's like shutting it down, right? But there's also those fathers too that's not even really focused on the kid, and they're more so trying to focus on, let me get back with my lady, let me try to fix this, right? And that's a whole different story in itself. But right, like now if that's the case where your dad was like, hey, he was just so focused on trying to get back with your mom or whatever the case is, and really wasn't trying to build a relationship with you, of course, like, you know what I mean, it is what it is with that thing. Like that, you wasn't a priority, right? I get that. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that, y'all, because at the end of the day, there is, and I think we're doing a great job too. Like it was a beautiful thing seeing on Father's Day, all the beautiful posts. Shout out to James Cole too, man. Where I was just so proud of him and his journey, and he actually shared that on Instagram. That's for him to share though. But if y'all haven't had the chance, definitely listen or watch the previous episode. But there is a lot of good fathers out there, and he's one of them. And all the fathers I've had on are amazing fathers, right? And we're doing a great job changing that narrative. Um, but it just made me think, like, man, like for for us fathers that didn't have a father, was there a reason for that, right? There's so many fathers that don't have a father, but why is that? Why didn't you grow up with your dad? Could be a bigger reason. It could have been deeper than just he didn't want to be bothered with me. He didn't care. Are you sure about that? Are you sure it wasn't because of, you know, feelings got hurt? Are you sure it wasn't because, you know, your dad moved on? Are you sure it wasn't because maybe, she wanted a certain thing and he wasn't able to give it to her? Like there's so many different factors, right? There's so many different factors on why a lot of times things happen, as we know. Context, right? That's why I like to say context. What is the context with everything? And again, when we're younger, it's just strictly, hey, no, your dad didn't want to talk to you, or no, he don't care, or this and that, right? I remember watching that Will Smith episode. I think I spoke about this before on Fresh Prince, where he said, why my dad don't want me, right? And he starts crying. And I remember as a kid crying and feeling that same exact thing, right? That's one of the most powerful episodes, right, on Fresh Prince, right? When Will Smith is hugging Uncle Phil and upset, right? And I remember feeling that pain. I remember feeling that hurt, right? And there's certain things still that there are gaps between me and my dad, right? There's still gaps there. There's still questions I have. But at the end of the day, I had to look at it like this. Am I going to hold on to the past or am I going to move forward? Right? At the end of the day, you only get one dad, right? You only get one father. So at the end of the day, am I going to say, oh, I wonder if, right? I wonder what if I talk to him? What if I let certain things in? Again, it takes time. Like I'm not saying we have the best relationship in the world, but we're building, right? We're building. And so it came down to like, okay, like, am I gonna have a real relationship with him and be able to kind of share with my kids some stories, with him. Now we're in another state now, so it's a little like more difficult as far as like being able to really connect and things like that. But I looked at it like, man, you know what? If you wasn't the best dad for me, be the best grandfather you can be, right? That's my approach. Like, if you couldn't be the best dad, be the best grandfather, right? Cause yeah, man, like I said, we only have one father. We'll have many jobs. Shoot, we can have different spouses, right? But we only gonna have one father, right? And so, at the end of the day, I feel like that's really important, for us if we're able to, right? And at the end of the day, too, there's certain things we do. There's certain ways we think. There's certain habits we may have, and we don't even realize it, right? Because we're not tapped in. We're not really tapped in to know the situation because we don't have no relationship with our fathers at all, right? So we have to kind of close the gaps in other spaces, maybe talk to uncles, cousins, grandparents, whatever, right? So again, if you're able to, only if you're able to, obviously not everybody can, but if you're able to honestly be able to contact um, your dad, who even if he wasn't the best dad or wasn't around or something like that, and really pick his brain, why not? Now again, you have a conversation with him and you reach out to him and you like, man, yeah, this dude is nah. I tried. Like I tried at the end of the day, I tried to reach out to this dude. I tried to speak to him and he's just not about nothing. Like he really is what, what my family said he was, right? Um, okay. At least you can hold up your head high and say, I tried. Man, I tried, I did my part, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, then what can you really do besides be better than what he was, right? Be that example, be that standard. Um, so yeah, again, I'm proud of all the fathers, man, that I've spoken to or reached out to me. You guys are doing such an amazing job, man. I know I'm always, praising fathers that's on here, but even you listeners and things like that, man, I'm just so thankful, man, that you guys have really just connected with me and even reached out to me on certain things, and we've had certain dialogues. So I'm so appreciative of that for sure. But yeah, guys, but before I close out, right, make sure you share, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, guys. Again, I'm so thankful just for your guys' support. I'm so thankful just for, the community that's starting to really build from this. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, man. But yeah, remember, you don't have to be perfect, but you always have to be present. See you guys on the next one.